Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at a past Purple Hibiscus extract question for the Cambridge board. And what we've got here, an attempt to do this under time conditions alongside the students in my class. So in this video, we're going to look at the annotations that were made on this extract. And then in the next video, we'll look at a response, how we organized the ideas together into a response. I know that's something that students find a bit of a challenge. The reason we chose this particular extract, not least because it's reasonably recent, is because it's actually quite a short extract, and I think you need to be prepared potentially to get an extract that is reasonably brief, actually, as this one is. So, as always, what you're going to want to do before you even read the extract is to have a look at the keywords in the question. All of the annotations that you see here were done in about 6-7 minutes maximum. So we obviously are always going to get something along the lines of how, which means that we're looking at techniques and dramatic moment. You're always going to get some variation on that. Vivid section, impactful. And you can see what we've done here, as always, is to just pick out a few synonyms for these keywords in the question. So we're not just simply using dramatic moment again and again and again, but there are also ways, of course, of showing to the examiner that we are really foregrounding the question. This is something that is very, very important, comes out every single time in the chief examiner's report, that you've got to answer the question that's given. So let's have a look at it then. We were all in the living room playing cards when the phone rang that evening. Now, I remember this. This is when we find out Kambili and Jaja and Auntie Fuoma and Amika and so on called up by Mama and told about the death of Papa Eugene. So, Amika, please answer it, Auntie Fuoma said, even though she was closest to the door. I can bet it's for you, Mum, Amika said, focused on her cards. It's one of those people who want you to dash them our plates and our pots and even the underwear we have on. Well, you've got here very clearly the kind of relative poverty that people in Unsuka live in. We know that because we've studied the novel. We also get a sense of Amika's character here, don't we? That she's kind of humorous, she's quite irreverent and outspoken. And what we're trying to do is obviously analyze the extract, but show that we have that wider understanding of the novel about the kind of character that Amika is, for example, and the fact that Unsuka is where this moment is in the novel, where they are, and the kind of poverty that goes with Unsuka, in contrast to Kambidi's upbringing in Enugu. Auntie Fuoma got up laughing. Always a good idea to identify the verbs in an extract. There's usually quite a lot to say about those. And hurried to the phone. The TV was off and we were all silently absorbed in our cards, so I heard Auntie Fuoma's scream clearly, a short, strangled scream. For a short moment, I prayed that the American embassy had revoked the visa. Of course, we know that they are trying to escape and succor and go to America, Auntie Fuoma and her family. Before I rebuked myself and asked God to disregard my prayers, we all rushed to the room. So you can see that it starts in a fairly sort of humorous way, and very quickly something's gone on. We've got the repetition of short here. We've got the scream. You could also identify the verb rushed, which suggests a sense of panic. We've got repetition of short. Hey, Chimao Nwe, hey. Oh God, my wife, hey. Auntie Fuoma was standing by the table, her free hand placed on her head in the way that people do when they are in shock. What had happened to Mama? Question. She was holding the phone out. I knew she wanted to give it to Jaja, but I was closer and I grasped it. My hand shook so much that the earpiece slid away from my ear to my temple. Right. Well, one of the things I think that Adichie is doing here is that she is delaying the revelation, delaying this information, which of course increases the dramatic tension. Remember, dramatic is our question here. So yeah, shook, grasped, shook is repeated. Shock, sorry, grasped, shook, slid away. These all suggest that this is all very sudden, very quick. And here we're seeing the physical effects of the fear that the phone slips out of her hand. Mama's low voice floated across the phone line and quickly quelled my shaking hand. Cambili, it's your father. They called me from the factory. They found him lying dead on his desk. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. It's almost beyond comprehension. It's your father. They called me from the factory. They found him lying dead on his desk. Mama sounded like a recording. I imagined her saying the same thing to Jaja in the same exact tone. My ears filled with liquid, although I had heard her right, heard her say he was found dead on his office desk. I asked, did he get a letter bomb? Was it a letter bomb? Now, let's just unpack this for a moment. So we've got, it's your father. They called me from the factory, found him lying dead on his desk. Notice that she repeats this exactly the same. Now, why is that? What's the purpose and what's the effect? Well, you've probably quite unlikely that you're going to say exactly the same. Has she rehearsed this because this is such a difficult thing to say? Probably. But we know, because we've read the novel, that there's another reason that she might sound like a recording, this simile, why she repeats exactly the same phrase. And that's because, of course, she is the one who's caused the death, because she's been poisoning him with rat poison. So this isn't a surprise. It's only a matter of when rather than if. And I think you need to include that in your response. You need to show that wider awareness of what's going on in a novel and bring that to bear on the extract that you have in front of you. I imagined her saying the same thing to Jaja. Same exact tone. My ears filled with liquid. So we've got a metaphor there. Where you see simile, personification, metaphor, then you definitely want to be identifying that, because that's something that you can unpack in your analysis. The other thing here that I think is important that you would get if you've read the novel carefully is that she automatically assumes that it's a letter bomb that's killed him. Why? Well, this is the way in which the state got rid of De Coker, isn't it? That he had a letter bomb, it exploded, and it killed him, sadly, at home. Jaja grabbed the phone. So we see Jaja kind of taking charge here. He's growing up. Auntie Fuoma led me to the bed. I sat down and stared at the bag of rice that leaned against the bedroom wall, and I knew that I would always remember that bag of rice, the brown interweaving of jute, the words Adada, long grain on it, the way it slumped against the wall near the table. Maybe this is kind of how she feels, Cambili. I had never considered the possibility that Papa would die, that Papa could die. Well, why not? Because he seems indestructible, doesn't he? He's somebody of incredible power. He wields a great deal of power in society, but he's also, the patriarch at home, and he also deals out a lot of violence. Would and could may be important there. He was different from Adikoka, from all the other people they had killed. He had seemed immortal. Notice that we are now talking about him in the past tense, and the they is the powerful elite, maybe the military government. And one of the things that strikes me in this very short extract is actually the shift in tone. And that's something to be aware of and to be looking out for in extract-based questions. It starts off with laughing, they're having some banter here, and very quickly we get the shock, the effects of the shock with the verbs, and we get the response here from Cambili, who's kind of numb at the end. She's unable really to do anything. So we'd want to be talking about, in our response, the change in tone and mood, the atmosphere during this particular extract and moment, and why that is particularly dramatic. Okay, so that's it for the annotations. Next video, we'll look at how we order these things, organize them, and then turn them into a response done under time conditions. Okay, check out the next video. Thanks for your time and have a really good day, everyone. Bye-bye.